Welcome to Charlie and Mia's podcast. We're embarking on an exciting journey to read through the entire Bible in just 1 year.
Welcome back, everyone, ready to dive into some juicy material. Today, we're cracking open the book of Genesis again, specifically chapters 4 through 6. We're talking family drama, ancient mysteries, those big questions about good and evil, the stuff that's fascinated people for ages.
Yeah, these chapters are foundational. They really get into the nitty-gritty of the human experience. It's like looking into a mirror reflecting our deepest desires and struggles.
Exactly, and we're going to unpack it all. So let's start with Cain and Abel in chapter 4. It's a story most people know, but there's a lot to unpack. Two brothers, both making offerings to God, but only one gets the divine thumbs up. It makes you wonder, what makes a sacrifice acceptable anyway? Cain brings the fruits of his labor, right? As a farmer, that's his life's work, his connection to the earth.
It's easy to assume God just preferred animal sacrifices over vegetables, but it's more nuanced than that. Abel, the shepherd, offers the firstborn of his flock the most valuable thing. It's about the level of devotion, giving up something precious that hits different.
You're right. It's about the heart behind it, the understanding of that relationship with the divine. And of course, this is where things get messy. Jealousy rears its ugly head. Cain's actions have eternal repercussions, which brings us to a tough question. How can a loving God allow such darkness?
Oh, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? One that theologians and philosophers have wrestled with for centuries. Maybe the story isn't about God favoring one brother, but about the dangers of giving in to those darker impulses we all have. Remember, God warns Cain about the temptation lurking at his door. It's a choice, ultimately.
That's a chilling detail. The weight of free will, the possibility of choosing wrong. And Cain makes his choice, tragically ending Abel's life. And then the punishment, the mark of Cain. What do you make of it? A physical brand or something more symbolic, like a mark of shame that isolates him?
It's deliberately left open to interpretation. And that ambiguity has given rise to so many meanings over time. Some see it as a physical manifestation of sin, others as a representation of guilt that struggle for redemption.
It's something that still resonates. What does it mean to carry a mark, literally or figuratively, and can we escape our past actions?
And the thing is, even facing exile, Cain isn't totally abandoned. The mark is a punishment, but also a form of protection, stopping others from harming him. It suggests that even in judgment, there's compassion, a recognition of the complexity of justice, and maybe even a sliver of mercy.
The story of Cain and Abel really makes you think about human nature, right? But Genesis doesn't stay in that darkness. Chapter 5 shifts gears and gives us this fascinating genealogy from Adam to Noah.
Yeah, it's like a family tree reminding us that it's all connected. These aren't just isolated stories. And there's some really interesting tidbits in there, like those crazy long lifespans. These guys were living for centuries.
I know, right? It's hard to wrap your head around. It's easy to say, oh, it's exaggeration, it's myth. But what if there's something more to it?
What if it's not just about how long they physically lived, but about their influence lasting across generations, the wisdom they accumulated, the impact they had? They weren't just living longer, they were shaping humanity.
I like that perspective. It makes those lifespans, which seem so outlandish, into a testament to their significance. But then within this line of incredibly long-lived people, you have Enoch, who doesn't just live long, but walks with God and is taken by God. What do we do with that?
Enoch is like next-level righteousness. Walked with God implies this total harmony with the divine, a spiritual peak that leads to him while leaving the earthly realm in a pretty unique way.
It's interesting that phrase, walking with God, connects to Noah, who's also described as righteous, blameless. It's like we're being set up for Noah's role in what's to come.
Definitely. The text is drawing a parallel between them. Righteous men in a world that seems to be going downhill fast.
Yeah.
And that leads us to, well, one of the most debated passages, the sons of God taking wives from the daughters of men.
That one always throws me for a loop. Who are these sons of God? What's going on with this mixing of the divine and human?
Oh, it's generated endless interpretations. Some say it's literally angels interacting with humans, with huge consequences. Others say it's symbolic, showing the lines between sacred and profane blurring, a moral decline that sets the stage for the flood.
Even without knowing for sure who the sons of God are, just their presence adds to this feeling that things are off-kilter, that humanity's gone astray.
Exactly. There's a tension, a sense that something's got to give. Like the world's reached a breaking point, and that's where the flood comes, in a story that's captivated and challenged people for millennia.
The flood story just sticks with you, doesn't it? It's a powerful image. Humanity messing up so badly that it calls for a total reset.
It really gets you thinking about justice, about mercy, about whether we're capable of learning from our mistakes. And of course, that whole question of why a loving God would allow such a devastating event.
Right. It's not an easy story to digest. But even in the midst of all that destruction, you have Noah and his family representing this possibility of starting over, of finding hope even in the darkest times. And I find it interesting that God doesn't just fix everything himself. He gives Noah a job to do, this huge task of building the ark.
It's like saying, even when things are falling apart, you still have a part to play in your own survival, your own redemption. Noah's faith, his obedience when faced with something so overwhelming. That's powerful. It reminds us that our choices, our actions, they always matter.
And it's not just a story found in the Bible, right? Flood myths pop up all over the world in different cultures, different traditions. What do you think it is about this particular story that's resonated so deeply across time and place?
Maybe it taps into something primal, a fear of the unknown, of nature's power to wipe the slate clean. Or maybe it speaks to a deeper truth about how things work, that sometimes you need destruction to clear the way for new life, for a fresh start. It's like that cycle of death and rebirth we see everywhere.
It's a powerful concept, and it brings us to the end of our deep dive into these chapters of Genesis. We've covered a lot of ground, from family drama to questions of morality, punishment, and the possibility of redemption. These are ancient stories, but they still have a way of getting under our skin, don't they?
They remind us that some things never change. We're still wrestling with the same dilemmas, tempted by the same things, searching for meaning and connection in a world that can feel chaotic and uncertain.
Exactly. So as we go from here, think about the echoes of these stories in your own life. Where do you see those themes of jealousy, temptation, the desire for a fresh start? And what choices will you make when faced with those age-old questions? Our deep dive may be ending here, but the conversation, the reflection, that's something we can all carry with us. Thanks for joining us.
Every day, we dive into Scripture, exploring its meanings and how it applies to our lives today. We invite you to join us on this incredible adventure of learning and discovery. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you never miss an episode.